I think it's going well, and there will be no legislation, I don't think, coming out of that. But it's important with all the things that were said and the things that came out of the 7 breakthrough solutions and the appointment of an individual who the general public thought was there to provide some sort of oversight or supervisory function at the university, to take a look and see just what's going on about this discussion of efficiency and economy when it comes to higher education. All functions of government for which people are being taxed should be scrutinized, I think, consistently for things like efficiency and economy. Basically, we're spending the public's money to do so. But you have to start with another assumption. Higher education is by its very nature inefficient, certainly in a corporate model. Can you have anything on a balance sheet that shows the benefit of Eastern religions or philosophy or things like that? And the answer is no. At the same time, society greatly benefits from an educated population, people that have been exposed to schools of thought and academic disciplines. There's a huge benefit. The problem is largely an intangible one. And we were talking about largely tangible things when we talk about the 7 breakthrough solutions. But should we ask those questions? Absolutely. If, and this statement was made, if 20% of your faculty is teaching 80% of your courses, is there a problem? Is there a disconnect there? Are we getting the most out of the resources there? Perfectly good question. And there will be answers there going forward. But our oversight committee, I think, was designed to make sure that we discuss all of the elements, not just the ones that were there in what looked like a corporate model for higher education.
So do you think that it was the political discussion that made it necessary to move that out of the existing committees?
Quite likely. That and the desire to do it jointly with our colleagues in the House. And so, yeah, I think it was the appropriate way to do it.
What do you think? I mean, I think you've alluded to some of this, but, you know, in terms of your thoughts about higher ed, and you're a father with a couple of sons engaged that have been engaged in the process. You know, what is important to you that you know, when you sit in that committee and you think about what's important to you in higher education and what you would like to accomplish, what comes to mind?
You know, for the sake of full disclosure, that I have one son who's a graduate of this department recently, and one who's a junior at the University of Texas. Does the educational process allow one to grow, both in industrial terms, in terms of preparation for some sort of vocational endeavor, but do they grow intellectually in their ability to critically process information? One of the most important things I think that people can learn is that there are a lot of different schools of thought and thought processes, and they are all valid because they motivate different people to think things and do things. And that we should be open-minded and we should be exposed to all of the things that influence thought, action, philosophy, and things like that. I look at my own children who were sort of the laboratory for my legislation having to do with high-stakes testing and things like that. Do I think that they came out of the university as bigger people, more broad-minded people, people who were inquisitive, people who knew how to read, not just grammar, but how to read, what books, not just what do they say, but what do they mean? Yeah, I think they did. Is there a dollar and cents value in all that? No.
Do you think there's a sense that there's support for that kind of thinking about higher education more broadly in the state?
You underscore the issue with more broadly. People in the state of Texas simply want to feel like they've got value for their money, and I think they view it in a very elemental sense. Are we turning out people who are going to make our economy grow, who are going to make Texas better? I think we confuse that sometimes by trying to put a strict balance sheet on it. And I think that's the questions. I think people are tremendously and somewhat indiscriminately influenced by the image of waste. And they don't care whether it's academic, they don't care whether it's in Parks and Wildlife or Department of Public Safety or university system, they object to waste. But we need to define what waste and inefficiency are, and that's what the discussion is about now.
So I think the committee, I had a guest previously this semester suggest that one of the functions of the Oversight Committee is going to be to sort of, I actually asked him if I thought he was tamping down the political conflict, and he said he thought it was sort of airing it out a little bit. That makes sense to you?
Absolutely. We need to air it out. They are legitimate questions. They need to be asked, but asked from all perspectives.